Hello, we are live on a first international talk here on Penalmente Relevant. I saw that we are here with with Mihai Suian and now trying to connect Maria Barbancho, two friends of mine, and I'm very proud that we are part of first international discussion because, as I every time stated, the times are changing, and I think that it's very important to be connected, to exchange views, and to learn something different. And we can do that by talking and exchange our best practices with other lawyers from other countries. And I have a confession to make in the beginning. Every time I go on a holiday in a beautiful place, I am starting to put some questions. How will be like if I will be a lawyer here? How will my life look like to be a criminal lawyer in a nice place? And I know from for many of us, cities like Barcelona or Palma de Mallorca, it's a dream place to live in. And this is why we have here today Maria Barbancho, very well-known criminal lawyer in Spain. She's focusing on international matters in criminal law. She is very well known for this, and she's a very good lawyer and a friend of mine. We also have here with us Mihai Suian, who you already know from our previous talk. And I don't want to say more about Maria because you will discover her from our questions today. And I'm very sure that she will respond to some questions you didn't have already, but you will know that you want to find something from her. I will let Mihai Suian now to address some questions to Maria and to start our very interesting discussions. You can also put every questions you have in the chat, and we will try to respond to the questions.
Thank you, Adrian. Well, let's start from the beginning. As every lawyer knows, you must first attend high school and then go to law school. And of course, the first question would be, how is law school in Spain? And please tell us the good and the ugly part. And let's see where we go from there.
Okay. Thank you very much, first of all, for having me here. Well, it's a difficult question because in Spain we have a lot of differences between different universities. If you go to a private university, to a private law school, there is you will find a complete different law school format in comparison with a public school. But even between the public universities, there are a lot of differences. For example, I studied in a public university, which is Universidad de Barcelona. It's like the oldest one. And in my case, it was like there were like every day was new people in the class. It's not like in a school where where the teacher knows you and they more or less know your name. You know how are you doing. It was like completely free. I didn't even know who was in my class with me, and it was maybe too free to find an adjective, no? Then after my second year of university, I went to Germany to study my last 2 years of university, and I found a completely different kind of university. It was the University of Heidelberg, which is like a little country in Germany, near Frankfurt. And it's a very nice village because it was one of the only villages in Germany that in the Second World War wasn't destroyed. Okay, so to be honest, in fact, I think this university is one of the oldest university in whole Europe. And in Germany, it was completely different in comparison with Spain because there the classes were really, really little. I think it was like a maximum of people for every class, and it was like going back to school. But in Barcelona, in my case, which I went to the University of Barcelona, it was like going to the jungle, to be honest. And sometimes it wasn't even worth it to go to class, because you had like the big books, and after 1 year, to be honest, I didn't go to class, and I just went to the library, and my lifestyle in the university was going to the library, studying, and going to exams. I don't know if I answer to your question, Mihai, but more or less it's like a wide approach of how it's life in university law school in Barcelona or in Spain. It has a lot. There is a lot of differences between the university that you choose. If you choose like the main public one, it's like the jungle. If you choose a private one, it's like going back to the school. And I don't know, after school, maybe you have to think, what do you prefer in that moment of your life, and what's better for your learning style, for example. No, that would be for me the question that you have to answer in order to decide in which university do you want to go to study law in Spain.
Yes, well, it's a bit different over here. I was trying to get into some specifics about what was your experience during the university. So tell me, first of all, what would you consider the most benefits, or the things that made you like the university in Barcelona, and what were the worst parts of it? The facts that you didn't really like studying for some exams and things like that. So what were the main things that you liked about going to university in Barcelona, and the ones that you didn't really like?
I think for me the best thing was experiencing at the beginning so much freedom. So I was the one that decided if I wanted to go to a class or not, and I knew I wasn't going to be punished. So like I was the only one accountable for my own decisions. I knew that everyone knew that at the middle of the year you had like the big exams. You don't even go to a class, but then you go to the exam, and if you pass, it's okay. So for me the best thing was like they give you like the freedom to organize your time the way you want it. But that's also a big responsible for each one of us, and a lot of people fail because they didn't know how to manage this thing. In my case, it was perfect because I'm somebody that, as you will learn about me in other questions, I work for myself. So it was always somebody that I always liked to organize my time the way I wanted. And for me, the university, it was like this. The worst part about that is that maybe it was too much freedom, and although I was good managing this freedom, at some point you had to change a little bit or change things as years pass, because you notice that maybe this is not the correct way. But it was also good to be aware of where you were failing, so to say, no. And having so big classes, it was also like a bad thing for me, because I'm somebody that really likes to speak with everybody, also with the teachers. And it was kind of difficult to get in touch with the teachers, with the professors in the university, because there were so many people that it was difficult and hard to find like the moment where you can freely go there and say, hey, Mrs. Whatever, what's that, or whatever. In this big public university, the professors came, did the class and then they just go away. It wasn't. You didn't have like the opportunity to catch up.
So Maria, just to follow up on my previous question, you were talking about a non-interaction with the professors. Did you have only courses with let's say 50 or 100 people, and you didn't have smaller courses on the same subject with maybe 20 or 30? I'm asking this because here in Romania we have courses and seminars, and each discipline has both. We have courses that are about 2 hours each week, and maybe a seminar with somebody else or the same professor that is about 1 hour or 2 hours a week. So you didn't have this system?
No. No. I know what do you mean, and we didn't have that in Spain. I mean, like the normal law school, like this 4 years law school, it was like big classes, exam, summer. It was like the schedule. But after this big after this law degree, if you want to become a lawyer, you have to do an extra LLM, a master, okay, in order to present to the bar exam. So in this master, to be accepted to present yourself to the bar exam, it was kind of similar to Romanian universities, where you could decide which topics do you want to focus on in the field of law. And when you decided that, it was like smaller groups. For example, in my experience, I choose everything that had to do with criminal law. And nowadays, I created good relationships with my teachers from this master, from this LLM, and I have been even able to work with them as lawyers in the same case nowadays because of this good relation that I built in this LLM.
So talking about this master's degree, this LLM, tell me, was it 1 year, 2 years, and if so, if it's a necessity to have it in order to become a lawyer, does it restrict the kind of lawyer you are? Are you restricted to just being a criminal lawyer because you have that criminal LLM?
No, it's not. I mean, well, first of all, this LLM, this master, it was established like only 6 years ago. So I was the first, one of the first persons to do this master. Okay. Before that, everyone after university could be a lawyer. Okay, and you didn't need to do any kind of bar exam, but then they changed it, and this master or this LLM is like it's 2 years long. Okay, the first year it's like going back to the university, but in smaller groups and focusing on topics that you want to focus on. But you also learn about the main things regarding being a lawyer, because the bar exam is one part of the bar exam. It's like the general part. And in the second year, you have another 6 months of classes, and then you have to do 6 months practicum in a law firm. If you don't do this paralegal 6 month practicum, you are not even able to present yourself to the bar exam. Then you present yourself to the bar exam. If you pass, if you approve, you can be a lawyer, and I can do everything. I can do commercial law, litigation, civil law, criminal law. You don't need something special to do like criminal law or whatever. For example, if you want to be a criminal lawyer in Spain and you want to be paid by the state, okay, for the people that don't have enough money to pay a private lawyer, which is something that I also do, then you have to show that you have chosen in this LLM the classes regarding criminal law. If not, you are not able to sign up for this lawyering thing for the people that don't have so much money.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So let me just point out the differences in the Romanian system. Our master's degrees are theoretical. They are not subject to any practice in the field. So we are not paralegals. We do not help lawyers. We usually have some practice during the 4 years at university and the 1 year as a master's degree, but it's not that formal, it's not that well organized, and this is a big criticism of our system. Also, you do not need a master's degree to become a lawyer, but I was going to ask you if that LLM was useful, but you kind of just gave me the answer, because if you do practice, you understand a lot of things. So I just want a single thing out of you about the education part, and then we'll get into the a lawyer business. Tell me, what were the differences between Barcelona and Germany uh, as to the university and the legal systems? And did you see that this was an improvement of your abilities to study both juridical systems? And also, would you recommend Erasmus? Thank you.
Thank you. For sure. From my point of view, Erasmus should be mandatory. You have to bear in mind that I grew up in a German school. My family doesn't have anything to do with Germany, but they wanted me to learn German. Interesting. So it was kind of, I wasn't surprised by anything very much when I was studying in Germany. But the main difference between Spain and Germany, from my point of view, was that, as I said before, the classes were really small in comparison with Spain, and that they use a lot the case method. Okay, like kind of Harvard or those American universities. In Spain, when you go to university, it's only theory. In Germany, it was all case study, and the exams were oral exams. So it was you in front of the teacher and discussing alone, which I think that improved a lot my abilities as a lawyer. When I was in Germany, I also studied a lot of European international private law, a lot European criminal law, a lot also. Well, at the moment there was no EPO thing or whatever, but a lot of things regarding Europe. And in Germany, there were also a lot of international students, which in Spain, in the university, is kind of difficult to find, because in Germany, I was doing some lessons in English, also mandatory in the university. In Spain, no. In Spain, the discussion is about if a lesson has to be in Catalan or in Spanish, not in English or in Spanish, you know? So all in all, I think it was a really good experience. I think it helped me understand more the way people are that are not in Spain, like lawyers in Spain. In Europe in general, how they function, which I think it's different in comparison with Spain. And I hope, though, this experience and being also in the German school, and nowadays like trying to meet international colleagues, help me improve my abilities as a lawyer, which I think nowadays everything is becoming more international, and if you remain local, it's difficult.
Yeah, I think you're right. We have a lot of case law from the ECHR and the European Court. And I don't think you were referring to that, but I think we're going to have some jurisprudence and some case law from the International Criminal Court soon. So that will come in handy soon. Well, that's very interesting. The German model, isn't it similar to the common law one that's based on cases?
No, it's civil law. I mean, it's based on civil law model, okay? But the way they teach it is case law. So they present you like the problem, and then after discussing the problem, when they give you like the how to solve the problem, they give you like, okay, this is in Article 21 of the Criminal Codes of Germany, which are not articles but paragraphs. That's
I understand. We had something similar in school and in law school, of course, where we were presented with the text for the crime in the criminal code, and we were supposed to talk about a specific case. And afterwards, some professors would present to us the actual case and the solution that the High Court gave in the case. So that's kind of similar. It was a good way of studying, but it's not formal. It's not standardized at all courses. But let me ask you something else. So you were really well trained by both the Barcelona University and the German one. Can I ask you, was there a shocking difference between theory at school and practice as a lawyer? Did you feel that there was a transitional shock? So I'm not a student anymore. Now I'm a lawyer. Can I apply what I was taught in school?
Of course. I think this might happen anywhere, no? That when you enter university or this LLM, you are like thinking about human rights or wherever, and the second day in the court you begin to realize that those things matter, but maybe that you have to use other tools. For example, trying to convince the person that is in front of you, which is not the judge and not the secretary of the judge, somebody that has the files of the case, and that this person suddenly decides that today it's not a good day to check the files. What's about this person doesn't know anything about human rights or fundamental rights or the right to the defense to have a look in the case, or any kind of directive of European law of innocence, presumption of innocence, wherever. So that's where you begin to realize that you also need another tools which are not in the codes in general, in the law. Or even teach at the university. And there is, for me, the point where good lawyers, where you can see if somebody is going to be a good lawyer or not. Because those things are for me really, really important. Even more, I would say even more than knowing perfectly the law.
Yeah, I agree. Maria, let me present my opinion on how the Romanian system prepares you. So you exit a law school and you know a lot of theory, you know a lot of books, you know everything. But then you get to become a lawyer and somebody asks you, hey, write this for me. Write a request to the court, write a memoir, write a request, write some defenses, some closing arguments, written closing arguments. And you're just looking like, how am I supposed to do that? Did you have something similar in your life when you became a lawyer?
Yes, of course. But to be honest, I'm somebody that I always think, okay, let's do it. Even if I do it wrong, then better than not to do it. You know what I mean? This is more or less my mindset. So I prefer to do it in a wrong way, but to try to do it, than saying, I don't know, can you help me? No, I just begin to think, okay, how can I do it? Okay, let's find us an example even on the Google, like the most simple thing. Let's try to find something on Google, or even to check if this person have a file where something similar has happened, and taking all one thing from that, one thing from the other. I always try to build something. And because nowadays, for example, that I'm working with people that are learning, I really appreciate when I see that they have tried to do something, not only say, I don't know what to do.
Yes, thank you. Let me just continue on this part. So I would ask you about the practice part. How important is it for a student to try applying for internships during law school? And did you have any internships during that period of time?
During the law school, it was strange that people was doing an internship. I was doing an internship in a very big law firm, because I was crazy. And I regret it a lot of time. No. It teach me a lot, because of this internship, when I finished law school, I knew I didn't want to work in a big law firm, in a large law firm. But normally in Spain, people don't do any kind of internship in the law school, because they already know that if they want to become a lawyer after this LLM that I explained about, they have to do it. It's mandatory. So a lot of people wait till it's mandatory to do it, and they don't do it before, you know?
Yes, I understand. So if you really did do that internship, would you recommend students do that anyway, even if you can do some internships during that LM, that practice period? Would you recommend an internship during law school?
Yes.
Okay.
If I was somebody that was deciding between two persons for a job position in a law firm, I completely would prefer that somebody that I see that from the beginning, this person was trying to involve himself in law firms. Because even if you are there and you are not a lawyer and you don't know anything from what they are speaking about, just reading the papers or just reading the files, it's something. It's something. There are special words that are not taught in the law school, that it's something that you get in 2 weeks, but you need these 2 weeks, no? So if you already have this before this LLM, it's a big advance. It's a big difference. And when I was doing my practicum in this LLM, I noticed that I was kind of I don't know, quick in comparison with the others, because I was already involved with everything that has to do with the courts. For me, the decision, the most important thing is if you want to work going to the courts or not. If you are willing to go to the courts as a lawyer, like litigation, for me it's very important that you begin to do like an internship even before this LLM.
Let me just ask you something about what you said earlier. You said that you had an internship in a big law firm and you didn't like it. What's the one thing you didn't like in that big law firm? I'm not talking anything specific, but I want to hear your opinion on that.
Well, maybe it was a little bit unfair for me to say that I didn't like it so much. In fact, when I was there, I was feeling really proud of this period of my life. But the thing is that I just wanted to be I just wanted to do an internship. For me, it didn't matter at that time if it was in criminal law, in commercial law. So I just end up like doing commercial law, and for me it was like the most boring thing ever. But also because of that, I noticed that I just wanted to do litigation. So even in this internship, I learned something that I wanted to do litigation. And I think in the life of a lawyer, you don't those things you get to know. It's kind of like you don't know what you want to do. Maybe you think you want to do commercial law, and then you go to a commercial law firm, and then you discover that this is not what you were expecting. So for me, the good part of this internship that I didn't like was that I discovered that I wanted to go to the court, not only be in the office.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. If you want to be a criminal lawyer, you have to go to court. You have to go to the prosecutor's office. You have to go to the police. You have to learn how to, let's say, aggressively negotiate sometimes with the police if they don't really understand your point of view. So let me just ask you something from the audience. We have a question from the audience. Georgia showed me in the chat. So, is it important for a lawyer to have a basic understanding of different criminal law systems? I think the question regards civil law, common law, and also Spanish law and German law, as far as I consider. So.
Well, I'm sure Adrian will help me with this answer, but from my point of view, it's becoming really, really important. Really important. Before maybe it wasn't so important. Before it was just like, okay, if you knew about other law systems, it was like a plus. But it wasn't so worth it, maybe. And nowadays, I think it's really, really important because of these changes that are being established by Europe in all of the European countries. For example, this European Prosecutor Office and all the changes that that has created in our criminal law systems. In Spain, this was like a big difference. In Spain, for example, we had it was the prosecutor that prosecutes a crime. The other way. In Germany, it was the prosecutor that prosecutes a crime. In Spain, it's the judge. With this EPO directive, with this EPO reglement or whatever, this is not more this judge, it's the prosecutor. So maybe I'm not explaining myself well, but the thing is that it's a big difference. And if this delegated prosecutor in Spain has to have some proof from Germany, you have to know more or less who is in Germany able to do this kind of investigations and wherever, even to know some other colleagues in Germany, and that's all.
Well, thank you for the answer. I think Adrian has a question.
Yes, not a question. I want to intervene and to add something here because I'm thinking what Maria said about the PPO, it's right, but I also think that it's very important to know as a criminal lawyer the both legal system to understand the principle of criminal procedure in the both criminal systems in Europe, because if you read the ACJR case law, you can see that ACJR try to accommodate the both legal systems. They are trying and then refer to common law and also the civil systems. And from my point of view, if you can understand both systems, you can understand what you can do, and you understand the functions, and not only looking at the legal transplants as we have right now for especially in Romania. We have legal transplants from common law. We take some institutions like negotiated justice and put it in criminal procedural law, and we don't understand very good what is the background of a legal institution. And from my point of view, it's very important to understand this in order to operate in a criminal case, and in order to give the best advice for your client. This is what I wanted to emphasize.
Thank you, Adrian. Maria,
and
let me ask you.
Also one point to I wanted to add something to that question, that if you want to be a criminal lawyer and work for yourself, or even in a law firm, you are going to have some with a lot of possibilities, some foreigners and international clients, and they have to notice that you know something about their law system too. That's something that they really appreciate. For example, in my case, it's like this, that they appreciate that I know something about Germany, about the UK, about Romania, whatever.
Yes, I think we all need to look outside and see the different criminal systems outside, especially the ones in Europe that actually Romanian systems do take a lot of legal institutions from other systems, especially in civil law. But as we're not civil lawyers, we'll get back to our criminal stuff. So, Maria, let me ask you, can you just become a lawyer and do everything, or do you have to be a trainee lawyer for some time?
Well, these 6 months that I was speaking about before of this LLM, these 6 months in a law firm, this is like a trainee lawyer.
So you can automatically go to every court after being a lawyer. You are not restricted by a period of about, say, 2 years. Let me just be precise. When we as Romanians become lawyers, we first become trainee lawyers, and we can only go to lower courts, actually the lowest court possible. And afterwards, we can go to Court of Appeals and also high courts after a period of 2 years. And then we have an extra exam, because we're kind of interim lawyers, trainee lawyers, and then we're definitive lawyers. See, so you don't have that system?
No, you don't have this system. I mean, after these 2 years LLM, this 6 month trainee in a law firm and passing the bar exam, you can go wherever you want. But, well, except from when you are getting the money from the state, okay? Where, for example, if you want to represent somebody that has been accused of murder, for example, you need 10 years experience. If not, you are not chosen to be one of these criminal lawyers that are used for legal aid, you know? But that's only in this public part of the criminal law, which, to be honest, it's not so interesting. I mean, I'm the first one that I was saying before that I'm doing that also, but because I want to gain more experience. But for people, it's not, they don't pay attention to that, you know. It's not like, okay, I need to have this 10 years experience, because if so, when I get to this 10 years experience, then I will be able to go to the Supreme Court. No, you can have 1 year experience, and if suddenly comes a client to your office that needs to go to the Supreme Court, you can do it without doubt. Another thing is that you want to do it, but you can do it.
Yes, I think you have to be a lawyer in Romania for about 5 years till you can get to the Supreme Court. But you can be a lawyer for 2 years, and then you can represent what we call ex officio clients, like the Americans call them indigents, people that cannot afford a lawyer. So you can go and have 2 years in experience and get a murder case. I don't think it's cool with that. But I can see that it's interesting that your system lets you plead a case on its importance and on its object rather than at what court the case is. Because we have something in Romania, I think it's pretty stupid sometimes. You can be a lawyer in a big case, like I'm talking about thousands and thousands of papers and documents, and you can be a first-year lawyer, theoretically. And you can get that case as a court-appointed lawyer, which I find weird, actually.
But I don't know if I understand. I understood it well, but for us, I mean, a murder, it's like in the one of the highest courts. Only one of the highest court of our country can prosecute a murder, for example. So it has something to do also with the type of crime and with the type of offense and how many years of being in jail are expected. I don't know if I understood your question really well, but I mean that I think it's not so different from Spain, where at least in this public part of the criminal law, there are some offenses that you can just represent somebody if you don't have enough experience, because these offenses has a really high penalties.
Yeah. In Romania, we have, let's say, 4 types of courts: county courts, tribunals, courts of appeals, and the high court. So as a trainee lawyer, you can only go to county courts. As a definitive lawyer with 2 years experience, you can go to tribunals, courts of appeals, and if you have 5-year experience as a definitive lawyer, you can go to high court. But murder is tried by the tribunal, the second court. We have very few cases that are tried by the Court of Appeal court as a first instance court. And there are cases that are treason, terrorism, and offenses committed by lawyers. Any offense committed by a lawyer. So I think it's a pretty different system, and we do not take into consideration the penalty. Just the fact that in the criminal procedure code, it's indicated that crime is going to be tried by that instance. There's no rationale regarding the criminal, the sentence that can be pronounced, the amount of the punishment.
We have something similar in Spain, but only with offenses committed by politicians. Okay, the offenses committed by politicians are only prosecuted by the highest court of our country, but except from that, everything else depends of the penalty that it's the penalty that is in the criminal code. So in Spain we have 3 courts only: your country court, the appeal, and the highest court. If you are prosecuting a crime that it's where the penalty could be higher than 5 years, the oral hearing, it's not in the country court but in the appeal court directly. So if you want to appeal against this sentence, the appeal court would be the highest court. No, and there are only oral hearings in the Supreme Court or the highest court when it's something with politicians, like this problem that we have in Spain with Puigdemont and so on. Everything was in the Tribunal Supremo, in the highest court. the hearing, not the appeal or whatever. There was no appeal. After this Tribunal Supremo, after this higher court, they just could go to the European court, you know. So it's like a mixed system between yours and how many years of offense are foreseen in the criminal code.
Yes, politicians usually go to high court as well here. Also, county courts can give really, really big sentences. I'm talking like yesterday I found out that a county court in Cluj, where I am, gave somebody 30 years of prison, 30. And I'm sure that the crimes were over 10 years of imprisonment each. There were multiple crimes. But let's go back to your training as a lawyer. Tell me, after taking the bar exam, how hard was it for you, and how hard is it now to find a law firm to work at?
Well, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I was thinking about this question because I was sure you were gonna ask me that, and I was today I was remembering those times. It was really hard because, as I said to you before, it was like mandatory to have this practicum, because if you didn't have the option to have this practicum, you were not able to present yourself to the bar exam. So at the end, you couldn't be a lawyer. So when you were doing like this LLM, there was a lot of competition regarding where I'm gonna do my internship. It was crazy, because I think law firms in Spain at the beginning, when they established this new system of the bar exam and this LLM master and whatever, they were not prepared to have so many internships. So it was possible, and I knew from a lot of people that they didn't have any internship. So they had to wait like 1 year to present themselves to the bar exam because they didn't have the chance of doing an internship. Like already the first year of this LLM, people were like crazy trying to find an internship, even though it was for the next year. And it helped me a lot. Have done an internship in a big law firm to get this mandatory internship in another law firm, which was a criminal law boutique, which had nothing to do with a big firm. But it helped me a lot having the experience of this big law firm internship to be seen as I think they like it. But from the first day of the LLM, I was just thinking where I'm gonna do my internships.
Yes. Taking this further, can you tell me, is it harder to start out as a criminal lawyer versus a civil lawyer or a commercial lawyer?
Very, very hard. To be honest, from the people that I met during all my career that wanted to be a criminal lawyer, maybe at the beginning it was the half of the people in law school and wherever. I think yesterday I had lunch with the only one that achieved to be a criminal lawyer. And when I meet with achieve, I mean that he's not only a criminal lawyer, but he can live from being a criminal lawyer. You know what I mean? So it's really hard in Spain. Really, really hard. Sometimes I think that I don't know how I did it, or sometimes I also think for how long it's gonna last, because it's really hard. Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about something an older lawyer told me a few years ago. In the first years of being a lawyer in Romania, you have to do everything: civil, criminal, divorces, everything. You cannot be a criminal lawyer in Romania starting out. Actually, you can, but it's really hard. I think from my former colleagues at university, about 5% of those who graduated became criminal lawyers. I, don't- I think 5%. So we're about, I don't know, 10 people out of 200, 250. It's really, really a small percentage. But talking about the hardship of being a criminal lawyer, tell me, can I ask you if you can give us some insight on the average salary of a lawyer that's new in the business? I'm talking about maybe the first year. So, how much does a new lawyer earn?
In the criminal law field, or an overall image?
Both, if you know. Any, if you know, but I would prefer the criminal one.
To be honest, the first year of my experience as a criminal lawyer, I was working for free, even though I was going to the courts. Okay, I was working for a very well-known lawyer here in Barcelona. Okay, which was normal to work for free the first year after this LLM and after everything. In fact, I was losing money because every month I had to pay to the Bar Association of Barcelona for being a member. So it was kind of hard. And the second year, I began to earn like 700 per month, which is not so much money. You have to imagine that while I was working for free, and the second year when I was working for less than 1,000 euro, all the people that around me in civil law, doing civil law or commercial law, they were gaining between 1,000 and 1,200 more or less. So for me, it was a big difference, and it was hard those years to believe that at some point this was going to change. But after that, I think people more or less 3-4 years, 5 years experience, they gain about 30,000 euro per year. 30,000. It's not, you don't get a lot of money in Spain if you're a lawyer, if you're working for somebody, except if you are working in a big law firm. But like regular lawyers, they don't working for somebody, they don't gain a lot of money.
Yeah, that's to be understood. I was kind of shocked when you told me that you worked for free during your first year. I think it's something that's really, really similar in Romania for some colleagues of mine. I'm not going to give names and say, but it's a common theme that you're going to work for about 2 years for free, unofficially, because officially you're going to get paid something like the minimum wage, that is about 500 euros a month here, and that's before taxes, not after taxes. And the reality is, a lot of masters, that's what we call the coordinators here, try to teach you, but the first year, first maybe 1 or 2 years, you ain't going to get paid. And sometimes I really understand this. Why? Because in this in this system, when you're starting out, you're kind of useless until you learn the practice, you study. We don't have that internship and that practicum, you called it in Spain. So you're just out of law school. You don't know how to practice law. You don't know how to write anything, and you really can't make money for the firm. And of course, this is a problem in our system. But I was kind of shocked of what you said. So tell me, Maria, did you work for this famous lawyer or master that you had a lot of time? Maybe you told me about your first year. Did you work more than 1 year for him?
Yeah, I was working for him like 2 years because I did also my internship from this LLM with him. So at the end, it was like 2 years and a half in this law firm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's kind of similar to what we have here in Romania, but your case is specifically similar to what we have here. And I agree with you. I think the only way you can make money as a lawyer here in Romania is to be on your own, or even more than that, make your own law firm. But that's a step forward. So I'm going to give Adrian the microphone now, and he's going to ask you the next questions. Thank you.
Just to wrap up your financial conversation here, I'm very optimistic, as everybody knows me that I'm very optimistic, and I can say to conclude, and for a criminal lawyer, if you don't follow the money, after that the money will follow you. This is my perspective. If you are very passionate in what you do, even you don't think, you will think in the first years, it's right what I do, it's right to work so many hours for some little sums of money. But if you are very passionate, if you continue to do this, the money will follow you. But you don't want to follow the money. You want to do your job, to represent your clients, and to be focused, to give to your clients the best defense they can have. And after that, I can tell you the money will follow. And moving further to some questions regarding lawyer section, not law school section. Maria, when I first met you, you told me that you are a criminal lawyer but focusing on international matters. And I know that you are well recognized in Spain as focusing on international matters. And I want to ask you, it's hard for a criminal lawyer, for a young criminal lawyer, to make a name on a niche. It's important to have a niche. It's very important to be a go-to lawyer on a niche, because I know some other lawyers recommend themselves only as business lawyers, criminal lawyers, not focusing on a niche. What do you think about the importance of a niche in criminal law?
Well, in my case, having a niche or a target of clients, which at the beginning were only like German people, because I was one of the only criminal lawyers in Spain that could speak German to German clients. It was like the thing that made me capable, made me able to have to work for myself. I have to admit it. So I think niche is at some point like an elevator to work for yourself. Nowadays that I already use this thing with the German clients, and I'm having more than German clients, I'm having Spanish clients and whatever. I want to focus in this international criminal law, or to be on more than international criminal law, in European criminal law, because it's something that really interests me. And because I also think here in Spain, this is something that regular lawyers don't know anything about. For example, what is an European warrant order? They don't know anything. I was this week with a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, which I think it's a really good criminal lawyer, even better than I am. And he was saying to me things that I was like, no, like impossible. And so I think it's something that they don't teach you. This is not being taught at the university because it's really new, this EPO thing, this European warrant order. And I do believe if you maybe trying to have this niche, or whatever you want to have as a niche, makes the difference when you are working for yourself.
Yes, I also think in the power of a niche, and I also think that, as you said, European criminal law is very technical, and you must have a focus on that in order to understand some of the issues. And for many lawyers, maybe it's not so comfortable to read articles in a foreign language, to read English materials, English documents, and also English frameworks. I'm referring to framework decisions about EAW, also EU, AO, the order for evidence, and so on. But moving further, before this, starting this conversation, you told us that you are now in Palma de Mallorca. And when I'm thinking about Palma de Mallorca, I'm thinking about drinking a cocktail on a beach or or something like this. And I'm very curious, how is the life of a criminal lawyer in Spain? And I know that you have an office in also in Barcelona, in Palma de Mallorca, and also have many cases in Madrid. I want to ask you if you travel a lot as a criminal lawyer, and how is everyday life as a criminal lawyer? How do you feel it? Because I know many of us are very curious about this.
Well, for me, one of the most surprising things about being a criminal lawyer is how much I have to travel. I didn't expect to travel so much. If you are doing European criminal matters, the only court it's like similar to what I explained about politician offenses. When you are doing European criminal matters, you have to go to Madrid because there is the only court tribunals where they deal with those kinds of things. So you have to travel to Madrid, which is really easy with the train from Barcelona. But in my case, I also have like a office in Palma de Mallorca, which is where I'm right now, because here there are a lot of criminal cases. So in my 1 week for me, in my life as a criminal lawyer, it's being in Barcelona. It's strange that I'm in Barcelona the whole week. Probably one day I will be outside Barcelona. I'm gonna. Normally, I always sleep in Barcelona. Even today that I came here in the morning, I'm gonna go back in Barcelona. But it's tired because as a criminal lawyer, you can practice in a lot of places. I mean, in all over Spain, and there are also weeks that I have to go. Not Palma or not Madrid, to a village in the south of Spain because somebody did something there. And I don't know, I think you have to travel more than people think.
If you travel so much, respond to me to another question, because in Romania we also travel as criminal lawyers, and we also notice many differences between different cities. And I'm referring that maybe in a bigger cities, within the city we see better prepared judges, prosecutors, and also lawyers. Do you feel any difference when you go to a court in Madrid regarding another, I don't know, city in south of Spain, or maybe in Palma, or do you notice any difference in Barcelona? Because we only know the food differences between Catalan and Madrid, but not differences in court.
No, I don't notice any kind of difference in our country courts. Okay,
Yes.
it's more or less the same. When I feel a big difference is between the judges from the appeal court and the country court. So, but that everywhere. I mean, in Palma de Mallorca, in Madrid, or in Barcelona, or in the south of Spain, the judges in the appeal court here in Spain have to have 10 years experience, and they have to pass another exam. Okay, so they are people that are really know a lot. Well, and probably those judges, if you speak about European directive, they know what you are talking about. So I feel much more comfortable doing an oral hearing in an appeal court than doing an oral hearing in a country court. this as a general thing wherever I am. But sometimes you feel like when I'm when I have something, a case in a little village, at some point of the case, the people in the court, they already know me. You know what I mean? And today somebody called me and he was like, "Hi, I'm Elena," and I was like, "Who are you?" And it was like, "I'm calling from Girona, from the criminal court of Girona. I'm waiting for your whatever." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." This is something that it's impossible that happens to me in Barcelona. Even in Palma de Mallorca, which are only 6 courts, in Barcelona we have 33. Even in Mallorca, I feel kind of more comfortable because I slowly begin to know who is who. You know what I mean? But I think this is something that has nothing to do with which part of the country, and it's just like it's kind of normal, you know.
Yes, and it's also normal in Romania because after 1 hour of discussion, we can agree, and Mihai, I guess, will agree with me that we have many similarities, and we didn't think of these many similarities. In some small towns in Romania, it's even the same, and everybody knows everybody, the lawyers with the judges and the prosecutors, and they are like a family there. Going there from a different city, you will feel like a guest, not a lawyer, because everybody knows everybody. But moving further, I know that we lawyers have many issues because we are used to complain. We complain every time. I want to ask you something regarding the criminal justice system in Spain. What are, in your opinion, the most problematic issues in criminal justice in Spain, and what you do different if you could draft a law, a criminal procedural law in Spain? What you think that are the most problematic issues in the criminal justice system? You have a microphone on the mute.
You mean in Spain or whole Europe?
In Spain. I'm very curious about Spain right now.
So which are the for me the most important? Well, the bad things.
What are the problems? What are the most yes, not the bad things, but the problematic issues of the system? What do you think it's a systemal problem that you find in every case, and you will try to change?
Okay. Good question. Good question. Difficult one. I would say. I don't know. To be honest, everything that has.
Let me put a specific question, because we as a lawyers in Romania have some problems during criminal investigation, exchanging information with the prosecutors, because the prosecutors don't want us to exchange so many views in this criminal phase. And I want to ask you, how is the interaction with the prosecutor in an investigation stage? And let me refer this. Do you happen to discuss with the prosecutor? Because in Romania they don't want to discuss, that you can only put written notes and so on. How it is in Spain?
In Spain, it's like in Romania. In Spain, they think they look you from above. You know what I mean? Prosecutors, which from my point of view, they are in the same level as I am, but just prosecuting. I mean, the only one that is in a higher level is the judge, and they believe to be the judge also. And for example, I'm having a lot of arguments with the prosecutors, because when I have an oral hearing, they are always before me in the court, sitting with the judge. And when I'm entering to the court, I'm like, why are you here speaking to the judge without me? You should enter at the same time as I enter, as the defense, and you should leave with me. You are at the same level as me. And now in Spain, 1 month ago, I was in Madrid, and I had a lunch with a very famous judge from the Supreme Court, and he told me that they are changing that. They are changing that because till now, it's like there are no equality between prosecutor and defense lawyer. And I think it's something that we are, as lawyers, I don't like to argue with them also. I know that if I argue with them before the oral hearing, I'm gonna have a bad consequence for my client. But in some point, we have to point out that they don't have to do what they are, how they don't have to behave like they are behaving. I don't know if I explained myself correctly, but this is something that is similar to Romania, very different in comparison with Germany. For example, in Germany, they see your lawyers, prosecutors see lawyers as colleagues, but I think it's something because of the way they study. The university system is another thing. In Spain, it's like in Romania, and I think this is one of the biggest problems of the criminal law system. So your question would be my answer to the previous question.
Okay, you are right about Germany because last autumn in a conference, ACBA conference in Berlin, we are having dinner, and at the table were prosecutor and lawyers, and we discussed this topic, and I told them that in Romania, maybe the prosecutor will run to another restaurant, not other table, to not be seen. It's also a problem of mass media who are doing a big issue of this. But they explained me this: we were colleagues. The lawyers with prosecutor were colleagues, and it's very nice to see they treated them professionally. I don't want to have lunch with a prosecutor, but I want a prosecutor to hear me in a criminal case, and it's better also for him, and it's better for the justice. Not better for me, not better for him, but better for the justice to have an exchange of views in a criminal investigation. And moving further to other problem in Romania, it's the volume of the documents, and also lawyers, judges, and prosecutors draft very large documents, many arguments and reasons of the documents. And I'm very curious how it is in Spain if the Indictment Act has in a complex criminal case has a lot of pages, or how many pages has a regular decision from the court. I'm very curious about this.
A decision of the court, it's not, in my opinion, one of the largest decisions that I've read. It was only 30 pages. Okay, so if you read like a sentence from the Supreme Court, it might have 30 sentences, except from these big cases from politicians and so on. But a regular file, okay, from a country court, it might have 200 papers, yes. In big cases, which are not so big as, for example, you can have a big case and it's never going to be in the Supreme Court. As I said before, it's going to stay at the appeal court. But you have a lot of pages. So there are some, in Spain, we have law firms. They are really careful which kind of case they take when it's about these big cases, because one of these big cases, just to read all the files, you could spend just 2 months only doing this case. And even if they have employees, they know it's something that is going to block the law firm. So they take it really careful. With this politician criminal file that was so famous in Spain with Puigdemont and so on, I know one law firm that was 2 years only doing this criminal case. From an economical point of view, it's not worth it. Really, it's not worth it. This would be another discussion, if these big cases are worth it or not. Even if when you hear the amount of money they have gained, it's high, it's not so worth it.
Yes, you're
So
right.
I think you have to be careful, and that's something that in my case today I was here in Palma de Mallorca because I had a meeting with a possible client which has a big case. For me it's difficult to decide if I'm going to have this case, if the client at the end decides to go with me or not, because this means I don't know how to organize it, to be honest. You know what I mean? Even
Yes,
if I have 2 employees.
this is a very pragmatic approach, but I'm also thinking that maybe if the case has something particular that you are interested of, maybe a law problem or something like this, you will accept it regarding the fact that you have many documents. And this is why I asked you, because in Romania also we have very big tax evasion, money laundering, and corruption cases where in the criminal investigation the prosecutors take every piece of the document they can find in a company, and after that we have a very, very, very big case like in the volume with 10,000 pages and so on. And as a criminal lawyer, yes, you shall study the case file because you don't know what's in there. Even the fact that I'm pretty sure that the judge will never look in the case file because it's too big, and it's a common problem also in Romania. But we are at this point. I want to ask you, at least in the investigation stage, all the papers are exchanged online. You don't have physical papers. How do you access the case file in Spain as a criminal lawyer? Do you draft request? Do you receive the, I don't know, memory stick, a DVD with the case file, or do you receive physical documents?
This is something that depends on which part of the country you are. For example, in Barcelona, you have to go and make a copy of everything. It's like this, my God. But in the rest of Spain, they have like a special software between lawyers and courts where they just send you the files. So when you present yourself to the court as the lawyer defending this client or the other, when the judge accepts your representation, so to say, your power of attorney, they already give you the files.
Okay.
But it's not like in Germany. I have seen some files because of this European criminal law that I'm trying to practice. From these European warrant orders, I have seen files from a German court, and they even have an index. You know what I mean? In Spain, it's not like this. You have to do yourself the index.
Yes, I heard of this, and I also heard of that in Germany, in a very complex case, they put the case file regarding every person involved, and if you represent only one person, you will have access to the case file, but you'll have emphasized the documents regarding your client. To be very honest, if this will happen in Romania, I will not trust the prosecutor to tell me what is most important for my client. I will also look on the other parts of the case file because you never know what's important. And yes, this German type of organization is very, very interesting. And in my point of view, it should be a model for every other EU countries, because I don't know other countries that are so well organized in this pre-trial stage and criminal investigation. And right now, I remember something. I remember that we discussed, I guess, in November in Lisbon about the problem of communication file in a court. And I remember that you told me that you have the communication with the court with some designated person, and it was very interesting for me because we don't have like this in Romania. If you want in Romania to fill a document to the court, you can send it now due to coronavirus to every court online or via email, or you can go to the court by yourself and fill the documents there. How it is to the exchange of documents with the court in Spain? Because you told me it's different.
You are right. You are right. We have here somebody, well, not somebody, but I mean like a figure which is called procurador. Okay, which are people that they have studied law, but they are not lawyers. and every client has to have a lawyer and a procurador, and this procurador is the person that is supposed to bring the papers to the court and to receive the papers from the court. Nowadays, with this software that I explained you about, it's a nonsense, to be honest. But I think they don't know how to change it, because if they change that, they are kind of destroying a lot of job positions. So I don't know how I'm gonna solve this problem, but nowadays you have to pay like 200 euro per case to somebody just to put the name of this person in the files. As the procurador, as I told you, even if this guy or doesn't do anything, to be honest.
It's very interesting because we don't have this guy in Romania, but after you told me this, I'm glad that we don't have it. And moving on, I want to refer to another issue of a criminal lawyer, and this issue is about being interrupted by the judge in the court, and when having a final argument, you always must put so many information in some little, not so many minutes, because the judge doesn't have time to listen to you. And I want to ask you, how many minutes does a lawyer need for his closing argument in court? Or let me put it like this. It happens in Spain for a judge to interrupt or to interrupt a lawyer when they are having a closing argument in an oral hearing.
Yes. It's usual, and there are some people usually have like arguments because of that with the judges. I think in the final part of the oral hearing, when you have to explain why do you think your client is innocent, it's not so usual that you get interrupted by the judge. But when you are asking questions, it's really normal that the judge says, lawyer, you already told that, or this is something that was already asked by the other party, or he has already answered that. But if they go too much into interrupting or even into making their own questions, this is something that you can bring up in the appeal.
Yes.
Okay. Like in Spain, we say juez predeterminado por ley. Like you need to have like an impartial judge, and with this in our system, which is not an accusatory system, like 100% accusatory, it's like mixed system in Spain. The judge that is gonna sign the sentence, this guy cannot ask a lot of questions.
Yes, he has to be impartial and also not so active. We also try to adopt this in Romania, with the judge to be more passive and let the accusation and the defense do their job. And I want to put a final question. If you don't have any other questions from the chat, this is more a personal question. If you could go back in time and be a student again, what would you change about your career, about everything? You will do something different?
To be honest, not. I wouldn't change anything, really. I wouldn't change anything. I'm more afraid of what's coming now, that and more afraid of doing something wrong or going into a bad direction, or doing bad choices now than before. It's like I sometimes feel or believe that everything that I have done, even if I did it wrong, I had the chance to do it wrong. Now I can fail, so it's like the kind of feeling that I have. But no, I all in all, I like what I did. I think I was in a lot of places, which this is something that some headhunters told me it was not a good image, but I think it's something positive. I don't agree with them. And most of all because it helped me to completely 100% decide that I'm not somebody that is gonna be completely happy working for somebody. That's something as a regular employee I'm not into this mindset.
I'm very sure that after 1 hour and a half, all our viewers will notice that you are very authentic, and this is why we thought you will be the perfect guest for our first event on International Talk. And I could also say that what I say after a discussion with every you lawyers, that we have more common problems that we think of when you think that you are home in a town or a city in Europe and having a problem. You can think that there are thousands of lawyers all across the EU dealing with the same problems as you are. But for me, it was very useful, these discussions, because only discussing things like this, you can know what you want to do, what if you can do something better, and you can learn new stuff. And I would like to let Mihai to say some concluding remarks about this discussion, because I knew you before he just met you, and I'm very curious what's his opinion about our discussion of today.
Thank you, Adrian. Well, I'm surprised that we have a lot of things in common, that being a lawyer in both countries is pretty similar, that you have the same hardships, and as far as I can see, we have the same solutions, especially accessing a file, the case file. Of course, I think it's better in Spain, but I have to agree that I've met a lot of cases when I have to do a usual copy and digitize it myself so I can put it on a laptop and go with it to court. And I still see these things. And when you're doing a file that's thousands and thousands of pages, it costs a lot for the client. Also, I had a court day today. I think I spoke about half an hour as closing arguments for a 6-year-old case. That would be maybe considered a lot for the majority of cases, but for harder cases, I think it's reasonable to speak even an hour in court in closing arguments. So it was really nice to see your opinions, and I'm really glad that we're not kind of alone here in Romania, and that we have the similar issues, and hopefully we can find solutions that are common to both our systems. And it was a pleasure talking to you, Maria.
Well, I just wanted to say at this final part of this live discussion, first of all, that thank you. I'm really glad that you invited me. I don't know if I could help somebody with the insights that I on my approaches from my daily life as a criminal lawyer, and it was really interesting also for me. Even though we already knew each other, Adrian, I didn't knew you, Mihai, and it was really interesting for me to share these kind of different visions and perspective of a criminal lawyer or a regular lawyer, wherever in Spain, between Romania and Spain. And I also agree with you guys that this is that those discussions are useful for all of us, because as I said before, this European law system, it was like a kind of a dream some years ago, but nowadays it's becoming real. So it's more than necessary to have this kind of discussions, to share which are the difference between all the law systems and the way these law systems are working in real life when you go to the country court. And I don't know. I hope that that everyone also enjoyed as much as I did this conversation.
Just to conclude, thank you, Maria, because if I was in your place right now in Palma de Mallorca in a beautiful Friday spring afternoon, maybe I was thinking about doing something different than having a discussion about law. But to conclude, if anybody has further questions, you can also search on LinkedIn and address those questions on LinkedIn. they can find you. You're a public person, and maybe you can help other persons regarding their issues. And thank you for this.
And for sure, I want to say to everybody that it's seeing this live discussion that if somebody wants or is interested in working as a lawyer in Spain and has some concrete questions about how can this person do whatever, everyone can contact me, and I will try to help as much as possible.
Thank you for this.
Okay.